So the Creative Constellation Program is organized around 5 parts, and in this video I want to tell you about part 1. Part 1 is called the reset because the foundational assumptions about creativity that most of us have inherited are really outdated and really don't fit with the future that we're all moving into together. So we take some time in part 1 to really relook at 5 foundational assumptions about creativity and its relationship to purpose and its relationship to direction. So the first of those 5 assumptions is that all human beings are creators. It is, in fact, 1/3 of every human being's purpose. And I'll let you find out the other 2/3 when you take the program. But this idea that creativity is not a talent or a trait, but a core human drive is really a central one of this program. And it helps to explain why this is not a program just for people who already understand themselves to be creative. People like artists and writers and performers, all wonderful creators, but not the only kinds of creators out there. So this is a program that really honors and embraces the creativity that is every one of our birthright. The second assumption we look at is that not everyone is creative in the same way. And here we build on the work that I've done to take a look at whether there aren't, in fact, multiple creativities that we could name and describe. Just like back in the 1980s, Howard Gardner at Harvard outlined a set of multiple intelligences. Many of you may be familiar with that idea. In this program, you are going to be introduced to a set of multiple creativities. I've counted 25 distinct creativities, and we will be doing all kinds of things to understand which of those creativities and in which combinations make up the kind of creator that you are. And that really leads into the third assumption, which is that most people are creative in multiple ways. So it isn't just about, oh, are you a painter? Oh no, she's a designer. He's a scientist. In fact, what makes us unique isn't whether or not we're creative, because all of us are. It's the combination of creativities that we express and how we balance and harmonize and relate those to one another in the way that we live. So all humans are creators. Not everyone is creative in the same way. Most of people are creative in multiple different ways, and this, by the way, is what we mean by complex creators. Why the Saltee Academy is called the Saltee Academy for Complex Creators, because it's really identifying that all of us are complex creators, creators who draw on multiple different creative gifts in the course of our work, our art, our activism, and our lives. The fourth assumption opens up a slightly different territory, and it's the assumption that creativity is not a way of producing, that creativity is a way of relating, a way of being in relationship. This is a really different idea for most of us who are raised in a culture that's really had productivity as the dominant ethos for many generations now. But we tend to think of creativity as the ability to create fancy, cool, jazzy things, or to make things in a jazzy way. And in fact, we're going to look at in this program the way that creativity, that creating is a way of being in relationship to ourselves and the world around us, to our tools and materials, and to the kinds of problems that perk up our individual brains. And it's a relationship of openness and courage and connection and interconnection that we talk a lot about in this program. And the fifth assumption we talk about in part 1 of the Creative Constellations program is the notion that your constellation of creativities can function as a sort of steering system, as a guidance system, as you steer toward your beautiful life. So we think about how we find our way in this world, in this complex world, as complex creators. Part of the answer is that as we learn to tune into our multiple creativities and to understand how they work together as a system, we begin to be able to listen for and respond to the ways in which the future is summoning us toward particular parts of our creativity, and sometimes away from other parts. So this is a system that acknowledges that we're always in flux, in evolving, dynamic, growing human beings. So that's part one. And in the next video, I'll tell you a little bit about where we go from there in part two of the Creative Constellations program.